What is shutter? In photography, shutter is a device that allows light to pass for a determined period, and that light is captured on the digital sensor in order to capture permanent image. So before going ahead, we will also understand what is the DSLR structure, how the structure of a DSLR camera is there in the market. As you can see in this image, first is the lens, which is there in front of the camera. Second, when the light is falling through the lens on a reflex mirror, and through that reflex mirror you can see that particular image on your viewfinder. Second is the reflex mirror. Third is the shutter, which we are talking about. So this is the device which is opened for a determined period, and through which in the fourth you will see the light focuses on the image sensor. And fifth is the focusing screen. So and sixth is the condenser lens, and 7 is the pentaprism which is there in the viewfinder, and 8 is the eyepiece or the viewfinder, in which you can see the image which is getting captured on the image sensor. In some of the Canon cameras you will find TV stands for time value. Time value basically means the amount of time the light is actually falling on the sensor. In TV or S mode, shutter is the main priority and camera decides the aperture and ISO. We also need to understand what is the mechanism of shutter. How does the shutter work? In this video, you will see there are two curtains, as you can see here, 1 and 2. Before you take into the picture, it starts right here. When you take the picture, it drops out here, and the second drops right here. First exposes your sensor, 2 second closes the sensor. When you take the picture, the first one drops like this, and the second one, before the first one, it hits the bottom. The faster your shutter speed, the smaller the light which is falling on the sensor, just like that. So that's how shutter works. Here you can see the comparison between 4 shutter speed which are captured in side by side. So 1/8000 of the second, 4000 of the second, 2000 and 1000 of the second. So when you see the first curtain which is falling down and the space between the second curtain. So this is basically how the mechanism of a shutter works. And you can now see how this mirror is getting down. So friends, hope I have made it very clear, and to understand the mechanism of shutter, how does a shutter works in a DSLR camera. I will also try to make you understand how the shutter speed works and how the motion is getting created. As you can see in this image, when you see the shutter speed is very less, it allows in more and more light and a longer exposure, motion blur will be captured, and you will also see there is a camera shake. So here I will recommend to use a tripod when you are lowering your shutter speed at least below 1/50th, 1/30th of the second. And on the other hand, when you increase your shutter speed, it allows in less light to enter into the sensor, and shorter exposure is getting created, and you can freeze the action whenever you are doing any kind of a sports photography or kids photography. So that will freeze the action, and you can use it on your handheld, that is, you can use it on your hand itself. So it is very easy to understand. When you increase your shutter speed, so the motion will be freezed and you can capture that image when you are doing any kind of bird photography or wildlife photography, or you are doing any sports photography. So it will freeze the motion. And on the other hand, when you decrease your shutter speed, it will create a motion blur, or some motion will be created, and more and light will be falling on the sensor. Hope I have made the concept very clear with the video and with this image. Now next we will discuss how shutter speed affects movement. In this image you can see when the shutter speed is getting lower, 1/8 of the second, 1/4, 1/2 of the second, for 1 second when the shutter is open, for 2 seconds when the shutter is open, you will see a motion is getting created. And when you increase the shutter speed, so you will see a freeze motion is getting created. The faster the shutter speed, that motion will not be there. So when you decrease the shutter speed, you will find some motion which is getting created. As you can see in this image has been captured at 1/2000 of the second, and on the other hand you will see this image is captured in 1/10 of the second. So motion is getting created as I decrease the shutter speed. Same with this example. Here you see 1/1600 of the second where the image is getting freeze, the water which is getting freezed. In the second image it is taken at 1/10 of the second, and you see a motion blur which is getting created. You can see this example again. It has been captured in 4000 of the second. This is captured, the shutter was opened for 3 seconds. So you can see this waterfall, the very milky waterfall which is getting captured. This is very wonderful. There is a steel wool that you can practice across. You can get some of the tutorials onto this. So in this 10 seconds, for 10 seconds the shutter was open, and this is a wool, steel wool that is been getting rotated, and you will find this kind of a effect. This is again taken at a 10 seconds, the shutter speed was open, and this is a traffic which is running on the highway. So friends, you have seen whenever there is a decrease in the shutter speed, the motion is getting created, and when you increase the shutter speed, the freeze motion is created. Panning is one of the very good creative idea that you can capture through a shutter speed. So it is generally captured when your shutter is at 1/50th of the second, or approx 1/40th of the second. So you have to hold the camera like this. You have to make the first focus on the moving subject, either it is your bike or a moving car or maybe an auto rickshaw. So you have to first half click, you have to focus is while moving it, you have to do the second click. You will see in the example, this image has been captured at 1/50th of the second, and the second image has been captured in 1/50th of the second. In both these two images, you will see the focus is there on the subject, that is a bike or an auto rickshaw, and the panning has been created. You feel in these two pics that the subject is moving very fast. I will suggest you to go out and try out this panning mode. While using shutter speed, here is one of my recommendation, that when you are using a shutter below 160 or 1/50th of the second, use a tripod, because still when you switch on your stabilization mode in your lens as well, but still there is a shake in the hand. So I will recommend you to use a tripod below 1/50th or 1/40th of the second. So friends, hope you have liked this tutorial. Today I have made it very easy to understand what is shutter, what is the mechanism of shutter, how the DSLR structure is there in the camera, and how shutter affects movement, what is panning mode, how to use panning in a different situation. So next tutorial will be on ISO, and hope you have liked this session, and request you to like and subscribe this channel. Thank you so much, and